Hello, it's your friendly neighborhood ex-Muslim saying, welcome Ramadan. Welcome to the month of Ramadan. Well, sort of. You see, it's not Ramadan everywhere, it's just Ramadan somewhere. Now, where did Ramadan start? When does Ramadan start? Well, everyone that's in a Muslim country will all be fasting together. So, for example, in UAE, Abu Dhabi has announced the crescent was sighted. So the first day of Ramadan is Monday. Iraq has spotted the crescent, say sources. Malaysia also is starting tomorrow. Pakistan, on the other hand, has declared that the holy month will begin a day later. Okay? So, anyways, and on it goes. Now, so the month has started for some people. Other people will still be eating, and they'll be starting the next day. So, but this is like no surprise. Muslims are used to this now, right? In at least in Muslim countries, the whole country all fast together, right? Your families, your brothers and sisters, and everybody is fasting together, and Eid is all celebrated together. In non-Muslim countries, it's a mess. Some go by Saudi, as in when to start the month of fasting. Some go by global moon sighting anywhere in the world. Some use calculations, which is a kind of modern method that has come about recently in the last few years, where they go by when the moon is theoretically visible. Some Puritanists, whatever that word is, don't like this method because it goes against a hadith that says fast when you see the moon. But some of them are okay with it because it's practically speaking much easier. And there's much less confusion. You can plan it better. You know when to take time off work and stuff like that. But it goes against the letter of, fast when you see the moon and stop fasting when you see the moon. So many people, including Salafis and including many madhabi followers as well, don't agree with this method. In Toronto, there's a moon sighting committee. Actually, they go by a moon sighting anywhere in North America or Guyana. So that's considered local moon sighting. And that's the approach I used to use as a Muslim. I remember staying up late at night sometimes wondering, am I going to be fasting tomorrow? I remember confusions where the mosque once announced it was Ramadan and then they had to cancel it because it turns out the moon sighting made a mistake or something. It's honestly chaos. It's also chaos because in one family, sometimes you have some people that are fasting, some people that are not fasting. And then when it comes to Eid, you have some people that are celebrating Eid and you have the get-togethers and they're all dressed up and going to pray, and the rest of the people are still fasting in the same family. So it's not fun, right? And, it makes it hard to plan time off because you don't know when Ramadan is ending. You don't know when to take time off for Eid, right? And, you want to spend time with the family after a big, long month of fasting. You want to celebrate. But it's difficult because you don't know when month is going to end. And some people fast 29 days, some people fast 30 days. I mean, like I said, even in the same country, you have people, some of them doing less fasting, some doing more. It's not fair, is it? It's definitely not fair that, in Makkah, they're just doing 13 hours of fasting, which is a very reasonable fast to do. You wake up, by 7 a.m., you finish food, or 6 a.m., and by, 7 p.m. at night, you can eat your dinner. It's like a long day of not eating, but it's not bad. Now compare that to right now in Canada or in North America in general, many places in the world, even in the UK, the fast is like 18 hours. It's from like 4 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. So it means you have to wake up in the middle of the night, eat, go back to bed with a full tummy, and then wake up for work or school. And then, not until 8:30 at night can you eat, and something like that. Right now it's 8:30, but it'll go back to 8 o'clock or so. The times are changing. It shifts throughout the year. So, and again, that's another thing that's not fair. In the country or in the area, in the region where Prophet Muhammad's religion was born, it's consistent because it's closer to the equator, and it's, all the way across the year. It goes from 11 hours to 13 hours. Did Muhammad really know that it's going to come a time where people are going to be fasting all over the world and it's going to be 18 hours of fasting? I mean, Like to subject an entire population of people to an 18-hour fast is unjust, it's injustice. We're talking about elderly, we're talking about people that work outside in the sun, we're talking about people that do hard labor, we're talking about the elderly, we're talking about, you know, women that may be pregnant or breastfeeding. I mean, some of them have exceptions, and some of them they still do it. So it's quite unfortunate. And even if, you know, we get those other shorter fasts, 11 hours, the fact is it still doesn't make up for the fact that there's, you know, like 15 years of like long ass fasting, right? Which are like incredibly tough, because it just saps the energy out of you day after day, right? So, you know, if you don't suffer from these wide swings in prayer times, it's actually much more reasonable. But for those of us living in other countries where we have like short days and long days, it's just straight up like, you know, difficult. And some people do it, and some people are able to do it with you know, obviously they have to sacrifice and cut back on other things, right? You know, one of the things that I've noticed is that Muhammad said that Allah comes down to the lowest heaven every night. Now, this only makes sense, or this makes a lot of sense in a flat earth. If there's only one time zone, in the last third of the night, Muhammad said Allah's coming down and he's listening to your du'as, your prayers. But like if you live in a round globe, it's always night somewhere in the world. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, because Allah is not coming down. So what's the point of saying Allah's coming down? You know what I mean? If he knew this, you know, a better way to put it would be that Allah is closest to his servants at night, or something like that. But to say Allah comes down to the lowest heaven every night, the last third of the night, this sounds like a big mistake, right? And again, like it's pretty obvious that this was not predicted by Muhammad, right? The loss of productivity is tangible, right? It's as this one article says, the costs of Ramadan need to be counted. It's a sensitive subject, but there needs to be serious analysis of the health and economic impacts of the Muslim fasting month, right? And it's true, it is an intense ritual, right, for 30 days or 29 days. Research by the Dutch academic Rein Win Evjik, sorry for messing up your name, points to an array of long-term health problems resulting from Ramadan fasting. For those women who choose to fast during pregnancy, it may cause considerable negative health impacts on the offspring, irrespective of the stage of pregnancy in which Ramadan took place. And I know from my own experience that I was taught, and my wife was taught, that she should fast even if she's pregnant, as long as she didn't feel like the baby was being harmed. So even though there was an excuse to not fast, we were taught by Al-Maghrib teacher Muhammad al-Sharif. He would say that no, and I think even maybe Yasir Qadi or different teachers, they said just fast even if you're breastfeeding, because you're going to miss so many fasts if you keep having kids, right? And you won't be able to make it up. So even in pregnancy, you know, my wife actually fasted at one point. Exposure to fasting before birth is associated with poor general health. But what I wanted to really talk about here was Ramadan's slowdown. Less work is done and more slowly. An article in Arab News in July 2013 suggested that the productivity declines by as much as 35 to 50% as a result of shorter working hours and the change in lifestyle during the month, so that decisions and vital meetings are postponed until it's over. Anyone that lives in a Muslim country knows this is true. For example, in Gulf News, UAE, 3-day weekends throughout Ramadan for employees of Dubai firm, right? So they're giving an example of that. And I'm not so interested in that one particular firm, but the public sector, let's look at the public sector. So public sector is also going to be working only 5 hours a day, starting at 9 a.m. and ending at 2 p.m. Okay? And check this out. What would you think they would do for hospitals and clinics? Now take a look. Emergency departments will remain around the clock, but specialist clinics will function only from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and staff clinics only from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Imagine that. Half the day you cannot even go to the clinic unless it's an emergency, right? The family medicine clinic will be open Sunday to Thursday, so it's not even open on Friday from 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., which is much more reasonable. The iftar break at all hospitals will be from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. So this is an example of how, you know, the work hours are shorter. People work less in Ramadan. They get time off. They get 3-day weekends. They don't like this is, everybody knows this. Anyone that lives in a Muslim country knows that there's a huge productivity loss. And like, is this what God wants from us? God wants for us to, like put everything on standby for this month. And like, just think about a country that does this for how many years? 100 years, 1,000 years, every Ramadan, which is it actually happens more than once a year, because the Islamic year is shorter, which is why it moves throughout the months. Just imagine that, over the 100 years of this productivity loss for this month, how far behind the country would fall, right? Like where's the priorities? Is the priorities for having the best life for everybody? Like even hospitals have shorter hours, and research and development, important meetings are put off. I mean, this is like a downfall of the society, right? What about fasting being good for you? It's good for you, right? Well, don't studies show that intermittent fasting, which is similar to Ramadan fasting, to be beneficial? Most of those studies are done on wet fasting, which is when people are able to drink juice, water, coffee, tea, stuff like that, right? And they concluded, some of the conclusions were that it's useful to reduce weight. So if that's the case, why do so many people gain weight in Ramadan? Because Ramadan ends up being an exercise in feasting. If you are fasting for 12 to 15 to 17 hours a day and you're gaining weight, dude, you're screwing up your body big time. That is not good. If you're gaining weight while you're fasting, something is seriously messed up. Okay, so brain fog. I remember when I used to fast, first few days I used to get something that's called a brain fog. You find it hard to concentrate. You feel kind of foggy. And one workaround, as I found, is that you can actually have electrolytes, tea, or coffee, but those are not allowed on the Muslim fast, right? The Ramadan fast. So the Islamic fast. So the only other thing you can do is just wait it out, and eventually it goes away. Your body adjusts. The lack of caffeine is probably a good thing though for people that's doing the dry fasting. Anger and irritability. This one is no secret. Everybody knows that fasting makes you irritable. You get headaches. You tend to become short-tempered. You take it out on your kids sometimes, those poor Muslim kids, right? Dehydration. By not having water for so many hours, you risk dehydration. Near the end of the 30 days of fasting, you find your lips are dry and cracking. There's just not enough water you can drink, and also while eating in those few hours. I've heard of kids fainting. One of my friends told me he actually fainted. I believe he was in Dubai, and he was fasting all day, and obviously it's hot, and he just fainted, right? So bringing up the topic of kids fasting, what about kids fasting? This is quite problematic. Even young kids are encouraged to fast. From the age of around 12 or 13, kids are definitely fasting. And even before that sometimes, they're bribed with cash gifts and loads of praise for partaking in this awful ritual. They have to suffer through lack of water and food day after day. Is it child abuse? I don't know. It could be in some ways. What about if you're forced to fast? What should you do? If you're forced to fast, you'll be fine without food, but just drink water. Make sure you drink some water. Whatever you have a chance to drink some water secretly, go for it. That's the best thing. If you can, pack protein bars and dates for iftar and eat them on the down low, right? Whenever you have a chance, that'll help, I guess. If you're in a Muslim country, there's not much you can do, but like I said, as long as you have water and you're hydrated, then there's no issue with missing out on food. Yes, it's a pain in the ass, but for overall, you'll be fine, right? On the good side, you get to invited for a lot of family gatherings, unless you're a convert, then you won't be invited anywhere. But there's free food at many mosques. There's an air of excitement and celebration. Some people enjoy the special prayers, the Taraweeh prayers. Overall, I think Ramadan is a bane and a loss for humanity. If it was so good, it should have been made optional, recommended, highly recommended, but not obligatory. Obligatory, fara'id, means that it's a burden on the Muslim population, and you will be punished if you don't do it. You will be punished, Allah will be angry at you, you're at risk of hellfire. So you definitely don't want to be having Allah on his bad side. So you have to fast, no matter what the challenges are. Anyways, thanks for watching. That's my 2 cents on Ramadan. Take care. This is Abdullah Samir signing out. Hi, I'm Abdullah Samir. I'm creating videos on the topic of criticizing Islam without bigotry towards Muslims, and I could use your help. Please check out my support page if you'd like to support me to make more such videos on these topics. And thank you so much to all of my supporters for helping me to continue doing this. And thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to thumbs up if you haven't done that. Take care. Bye for now.